In this episode we're going to be talking about Poxwalkers. We're going to do more painting with new paints, learn some new rules about units and more. Stay tuned. Alright, so this is issue 4 of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, so let's dive in. So with this issue you get 6 Poxwalkers. Half of them are multi-part and half of them are single part, like this chap over here and this chap, Bugman's Glow. So let's have a look inside this week's issue. Now we'll be exploring who the Poxwalkers are. Now Poxwalkers are essentially all the innocent civilians on any given planet that the Death Guard invade. And they are just swollen and bloated and diseased and just generally zombified by all the nasty poxes and viruses and diseases that are spread on the invaded planet. And it is so effective that the population of the planet slowly but surely turn into mindless drones for the Death Guard to use as cannon fodder, which is a brilliant tactic. Then we also got different vectorums of the Death Guard. So these are sections of the Death Guard who have slightly different methods and effects, and they also have slightly different colour schemes, but they all align with the Death Guard. They all serve for Mortarion and therefore serve Noble. Then we get on to building the Poxwalkers, which I'll show you a quick step-by-step guide on how to do the single part and the multi-parts. And there's the instructions just there. They're very simple to do. And then we get to paint them using the new base paint, Bugman's Glow. So I'll be showing you what I'm doing with these as well, and I'll show you a couple of little tips just to take them that little extra further with the paints that you do have. And then you go back to your previous models, like the Intercessors and the Reavers, to paint the unit sergeants' faces, and the Plague Marines with all the boils and tentacles and stuff going on. Alright, and then we get on to squad warfare. So this is where we finally get to pit units against units rather than individual fighters. So you get to learn how to shoot them as a unit, and then you get to charge them and fight them as a unit and consolidate. And then we have a little fun scenario at the end, just so you can use those newly acquired skills and just have a bit of fun. And they introduce victory points with the objective markers. And there you have it. So these are quite simple to do, this piece. Remember? On the flat side. And because these have a lot of spiky bits and delicate details, you have to be extra careful when clipping these out. Okay, then jam. A little extra hang on it, so just carefully. So, drop of water, just to get a good consistency. Multiple thin coats. You want to do the whole model top to bottom. So. See, you can see the difference between the green and the plastic, so it's very important that you have a bright enough light. So you want to go for the pustules and the boils. Okay. Trying to be as neat as possible. And I would do the other big boils like this one. Paint the entire thing. Did some random, see? So with the incessors and the reavers, again, just be very careful. Thin your paints, don't load your brush too. And the crab hands, yeah, any tentacles sprouting out. His mouth as well. So just careful you don't go up onto the arm. Face. Yeah. A bit too thick, so I'll just mix a bit more paint into it. And you will have to do it thin, even coats because the green will show through. So you can paint those black, so that is a darker background for the lead belcher to go on, and the husk here, which I love. I think it's bloody brilliant. You go right down, but you don't want to go down on all this goopy stuff because obviously that's some nasty sickness leaking out of him, so keep that green in it. See, it's got bone growths coming out this side. Here, it's got bone growths. Big ones coming off his shoulder, like so. So I'm going to paint all those. Just watch out for the maggots. And the lip. And with this true pies all up on here. Here and here. Yes. Okay, so you've learned how to move, you've learned how to shoot, you've learned how to charge and fight, but with individual models. Now it's time to fight, move and shoot, do everything else as a unit. Now a unit is a group of more than one model, like so, and they do all their moving, all their shooting, the charging, fighting, everything together. So let's dive right in. First of all, you're going to want your dice, your playmat, intercessors and the reavers. You're also going to need the plague marines and the poxwalkers. Get your range rulers ready, and objective markers we'll put to one side for now. Both sides roll a dice. Whoever rolls the highest gets to deploy first. If you roll a draw like that, and I didn't practice that, I promise you, then each side rolls again. The Ultramarines go first. Now to deploy your units on this mat, you choose which unit you want to deploy. So I'm going to deploy the Intercessors, and you start by placing one of the unit on a marker in the deployment area. You then carry on deploying the rest of the unit, making sure every model is no more than 2 inches away from a fellow squad member. But you can also not be further than 4 inches away from one of the starting spots. Once you finish placing that, the other player gets to place his unit. So this one's going to do Poxwalkers. And again, make sure they're within 2 inches, but not more than 4 inches away. Okay, rules update. So, before we get started, you need to familiarise with the updated rules for each unit. Now, the Intercessors and the Reavers will still be hitting the Plague Marines on a 3+, just like they will with the Poxwalkers. This is because their skill doesn't change against whoever they're fighting, but how they wound does change because it varies upon the toughness of the enemy. For the Plague Marines, they will need 5s because the Plague Marines are a lot tougher. For the Poxwalkers though, they will need 3s. This is for both shooting and in combat to wound. Also, for the Poxwalkers, they have a very, very bad ballistic skill, but none of them have any shooting attacks. So, they ignore the shooting phase anyway. Weapon skill is 5+, so they need 5 or 6s to hit anything, and the same to wound. They get 2 attacks each though, as they have 2 readily available arms, and they're holding whatever they can to fight. They only have 1 wound, and they don't have any saves, but being servants of Nurgle, they do have the disgustingly resilient rule, which allows them to roll a 5+ to avoid being wounded. One last thing, the Poxwalkers have an additional rule. So when in combat, let's just say there's only 2 left in the unit and they're fighting this Space Marine. Now if they manage to remove him from play by wounding him completely, then they get to bring one of their dead back to the unit. 1 model for 1 model. This is called Curse of the Walking Pox. So, they get to go first. So, moving, remember, every model in a unit has to be within 2 inches of another member of the unit. So these guys are going to move forward. 5 inches. You'll notice they have to go in the same direction because if this was to go around here, it'd be breaking what's called unit coherency. These chaps are also going to walk along. They only have movement of 4 inches as they are essentially just lumbering, pox-ridden zombies. Now that they've done their moving, they're going to do an additional move. They're going to advance. The reason for that is because they can't shoot, so they might as well run towards the enemy with an additional 1 inch, which is suitable for Poxwalkers. You need to make sure that he can see his enemy. So he can't see him there because the box is in the way. Does he have line of sight here? Between, yes, he does, but only just between those 2 boxes. So he's going to fire 1 shot. You'll need a 3+, as his ballistic skill is a 3, and it hits. He's then going to need a 4+ to wound, for that's the strength of the bolt gun, and it wounds. The Reaver will need to make a save and throw, and they have an armor save of 3+. He fails it, so he then takes 1 wound. Okay. Will he be able to see with his plasma gun? He does. So the plasma gun can shoot. Now, as you've noticed, because one of the member of the unit starts shooting at this unit, the rest must make their shooting attacks at this unit too. But because they have different weapon profiles, it does mean that you roll them separately. He has a bolt gun, but he has a plasma gun. This one has a grenade launcher, but currently he cannot see anyone, so he's no help to squad mates. So I'll roll 1 dice, and it hits. Now the plasma gun is very strong, and as such it only needs 2 to wound, and it wounds. If he had rolled a 1, he would have been removed from play. So because of the strength of it, it actually ignores the armor save of the Reaver, and he takes a wound. You need to take wounds from the models who have already taken wounds. So he's already taken a wound, so he takes another wound, and he is dead and removed from play. So remember, whenever you are making wounds to a unit, the owner of the unit picks who gets wounded, but once a model is wounded, any additional wounds are made straight to that wounded model until it's removed from play. Then you can pick another model to take on the additional wounds, and so on until you run out of wounds to allocate. He's going to charge this unit. Need to make sure it can reach. So I'd say that's about 9. Don't need to roll a 9. You measure from the nearest. Doesn't have to be line of sight, just the nearest. Now, before I roll, this one guy is in line of sight of the unit. So, Overwatch is done by the whole unit together. So they shoot twice. 1 for each one. They need 6s to hit, and they both miss. Okay. So the Poxwalkers are now going to charge. They need at least a 9. And they rolled the 9. Okay. So. Comes within 1 inch. You got to make sure all of them move the 9 inches. Okay. So it is important to remember that it doesn't matter if all of them are not within 1 inch of the enemy unit. The reason being is because the first thing that happens when you choose a unit in the fight phase to fight with is they get up to 3 inches to pile in. Now, in order to do this, every model, well, the unit that isn't within 1 inch already of the enemy is to make 3 inches to move closer to the nearest enemy model. Alright? So, but they all have to go towards the same unit. Alright? So of course, you'd have to go straight. But here's a tip. You can't get any further away, but you can't get any closer either. Since he has 2 inches left on his move, he can slide around on the base of this trooper for his additional 2 inches to make the full 3 inches. Therefore, he went to the nearest enemy unit and he stayed with the nearest enemy unit. This also helps to free up some space for the additional Poxwalkers. Like so. This one is going 2 inches, so I think I'll slide him round an additional inch. Like that. He can get in there. he reaches to there, and he's just on the back there. Now, we've sorted that out. Let's get to combat. So, what does it say here? When fighting in units, make all of your hit and wound rolls in the same way you did for shooting in the shooting phase. The opponent then makes all of their save rolls and applies the successful wounds. If you have different sorts of close combat weapons in your unit, roll for these separately, clearly announcing each weapon before you roll them. Poxwalkers just have all sorts of crap, so you don't really need to worry about that because it has the same profile. So each one has 2 attacks, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I only got 6 dice, so I'll roll them twice. They need 5s to hit. And they got 3 hits. Let's roll that again for the other attacks. 4, 5, that's all. So, 5 hits. Now they need 4. 3 5s to wound. Brilliant. 4 hits were successful in wounding. Now, the Reavers get to make their saves, and they have a 3-up save. And unfortunately, 2 of them went through. This means that one of them has been removed from play. This unit of Poxwalkers now get a free consolidation move of 3 inches. Now, this has to be made so that the unit moves closer to the nearest enemy unit. As they're still engaged with this one, it means that all the Poxwalkers can make a free 3-inch move wherever they like, as long as it leaves them base contact with the enemy. And there you have it. So if we have a look back on issue 3, we can see the additional rules for the unit champion of the Plague Marines. You see, as the Power Fist, he does need a 4+ instead of a 3+ to hit, just to show that it is cumbersome and a lot harder to use than regular weapons. But because of the strength of it, the power behind the Power Fist, it only needs a 2 or more to wound. That means anything but a 1. Also, the enemies get no armor save, so that's brilliant. You also see that he has a Plague Knife. Now if you make a wound roll of a 1, you get to re-roll that. Keep in mind though, you only get to re-roll it that once for that time. So remember, choose a unit to fight with, pile in up to 3 inches, choose target unit, roll for unit fights, and then you consolidate 3 inches. Alright, so for the scenario, you will need your range rulers, you'll need both of these, which are placed like so. The objective markers are to be reached by the opposing team. Now, to start the game, you roll off to see who goes first. You then set up as described before. This game lasts for 5 battle rounds, so that's 5 turns for each player, or until one side has no models left. Then you have some victory conditions. So, how to win? Well, eliminate all enemy models or score more victory points than your opponent. How do you score victory points? Well, for every enemy unit you remove from play, you score 1 victory point. So, for example, if the Ultramarines wiped out this unit of Lake Marines, they would have 1 point. For each objective you hold at the end of the game, you score 3 victory points. So to hold an enemy objective or your own objective, you need to have your troops in base-to-base contact, right? But without the enemy in base-to-base contact. If the enemy unit is within base-to-base contact of the same objective as you are, it is contested and neither score a point. So ideally, you either want to wipe out your opponent or have 2 units on the objectives. And try and block your enemy as much as possible. And there you have it. Your first go at squad warfare. Have fun with this, and remember, you have the additional rules for the weapons in the previous issues that you received the models in. So don't forget to throw them in just for that little extra fun. Okay, in next week's video we will be covering issue 5. We'll be exploring who Lieutenant Cassius is. We'll also be building him and painting him. We're going to be learning about power weapons such as power swords and power axes and all those other cool power weapons. And we're going to learn how to use heroes in game. And that's it. See you next week. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, click the little notification bell next to the button, and all my social media links are down in the description below. Also, if you take time to visit my Patreon page, that would be a blast. Thank you very much. Peace.